Okay, so I've had a lot of different requests for to do the movie ones. This will be. I might try to do Incredibles, Fantastic Four one, looking at the Fox film, the first one. So I probably just pick either one or two. Probably pick two because they're more development powers. The Fan Four Stick, and if I can find more footage of it, the Roger Corman one. So it'll be those three groups versus Incredibles 2. But this, of course, is MCU versus, I guess, what we would now call X-Men pre-MCU or Fox X-Men. Now, even though the Thanos picture here, it's farther along in the film, I am going with him from when we first see him in an Infinity War. This, of course, is the time when he is on the ship with Thor. So people say, well, he's got all the stones. Now, this time he just has the one stone. So I give him all the stones, ends up being kind of an unfair fight. This one, again, will be a relative marathon one, because as I am looking at what I've got in front of me, you get some pens and stuff. This is every bit. This is going to be 7 fights. I did not do anything with Deadpool. So if you thought I was doing Deadpool and X-Force, sorry. I also am skipping the Logan trilogy, because that is just Wolverine effectively fighting Thanos. So, we begin first one with X-Men number 1. So your team is Mystique, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Magneto, Cyclops, Storm, technically Kitty Pryde, technically Iceman, Pyro, and Professor X. Now, of course, with someone like Thanos showing up and attacking, I do picture a lot of the villains would probably join up as well. So this also includes Magneto, Cyclops, and Toad. So with a lot of these, if there ends up being the ability for, predominantly if we're looking at it's Magneto, I can picture Magneto and his team actually joining forces with the X-Men. So, first and foremost, right off the bat, I'm giving the intelligence edge to Thanos. With this one, it's more of he's been around for an incredibly long period of time. The X-Men at this time, they're not really fully gelling yet as a team, and there's a lot of miscommunication that happens. But I'm definitely saying that with Thanos, with his decades more experience, if not centuries more experience than the majority of the X-Men, I definitely give him an edge there. As well as fighting ability. In this one, this being the first X-Men film, we don't really see a lot of actual combat. We do see a little bit between Sabretooth and Wolverine, but it's more brawling than anything else. So this is more, the characters could do more, but at the time this film is significantly old, they didn't quite have the ability to do a lot more. I'll just do some of those pretty quick. So, strength. Again, no one on the X-Men had any sort of measurable super strength, and we are seeing Thanos pretty effectively handle someone like Thor as well as Hulk. In vulnerability, X-Men at this time, none of them have any sort of defensive capabilities, truly. They've got the leather suits, which are not going to help them out anywhere near as much. We do see Thanos sustain significantly more damage. Durability? I hate it's going to do that the whole time. For durability, you do have Wolverine and Sabretooth, and they show very early on in the film that Wolverine gets involved in a car accident and heals very quickly. So you have two people with incredible healing capabilities. EP, sorry, we're looking at MCU Thanos, so he doesn't have half of the abilities that he has in the comics. So just from a raw energy projection at a distance, X-Men have got this. Versatility, also X-Men. You've got telekinesis, telepathy. You have the ability to control magnetic fields. You don't see the fire and ice, but with the weather manipulation. You've got the telepathic abilities of Professor X. There's a lot of abilities that they're going to throw at Thanos. That's going to kind of keep him off balance. But the X Factor really comes down to the team you have. They're not fully developed in their powers, and they don't have great teamwork. We already know that Sabretooth and Wolverine are not going to get along very well. Toad is going to be kind of a non-factor. Pretty much this is going to be how well can Storm keep up enough of a random assortment of abilities on him, with Professor X trying to get into the mind of Thanos, which we saw later on Mantis was able to do, but she's a very powerful empath. So I think that if it's the first X-Men team, it's going to be a pretty effective stomp for Thanos. Now we've gone up in teams. So now we've got Mystique, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Storm. Again, you've got Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Pyro. Now we have Colossus, as well as Siren makes an appearance, as does Professor X. Intelligence stays about the same. You know, even though they've added more characters, I'll still give an edge to the amount of experience that we have with Thanos. Now for fighting ability, now we're getting a little bit different. Why? Because now that we're farther along in the film, we see that fantastic battle between... well, we see better battles between Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike. Even though she's in the picture, I'm not including her because I don't picture her jumping in to help out. And there's an amazing opening sequence with Nightcrawler. Then also you have a lot more people who have trained more. There's a better degree of power. And a better degree of overall teamwork. And people actually they got more time to have them do more. So the fighting scenes are significantly better. That opening sequence where we've got, well, the opening sequence is very impressive. And then when you've got Wolverine battling all of the troops, very well done sequence. Now strength, you do have Colossus, but Colossus is not shown to be anywhere near the tier of Hulk. Speed, now I did talk about in the first one, because again the effects they didn't, you get to see Storm float, but not really fly. Now as we get here into the sequel, now all of a sudden we're seeing a lot more powers being used. Now all of a sudden you've got Nightcrawler teleporting everywhere. He's a very incredible teleporter. You get to see more of Storm's abilities come out. You can see a lot more of Jean Grey's abilities come out. You also have Siren, who technically could fly, but they didn't really show it that much. Now, in vulnerability, same thing as before. For durability, now we only really have Wolverine. And if I'm looking at how well Wolverine is recovering, he's recovering well, but not to the same degree that we see when we see Thanos take significantly more damage and recover a lot faster. Those two are going to stay the same, and now we're down to X Factor, all nice and tied up. Hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Towards the end of Infinity War, Thanos has a pretty big issue dealing with Iron Man, Drax, Peter Parker, Doctor Strange, Star-Lord, and there's an Iron Man, Nebula, and Mantis. So they do a pretty good number on him. In this one, now all of a sudden we've got Cyclops is becoming a lot more powerful. Storm is a lot more powerful. And this is also when we get to see the start of Jean Grey Phoenix. As well as a much more powerful Magneto. So now all of a sudden you've got characters who are significantly coming more into their power. And with the combination of what Professor X is now doing, and the fact that we see Jean Grey fully start channeling the Phoenix, I think that the Phoenix, along with better teamwork, definitely does tip the scales into the favor of the X-Men. Okay, now we're at X-Men Last Stand. So now, still Mystique. Now we've got full-on Phoenix Jean Grey, Wolverine, Magneto, Cyclops for a little bit, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Pyro, Colossus. Siren's in there for a little bit, still not doing much. Professor X for a cup of coffee. Angel doesn't do as much. Beast, Kelsey Grammer, fantastic. The really bizarre Vinnie Jones Juggernaut. At least he got to work in the meme line. Arclight, who has a great ability to destroy things. I also threw in Spike, because I liked Spike in X-Men Evolutions. It was unique to see that character actually given some screen time. Intelligence, staying the same. Now this one for fighting ability, we're starting to see a lot more in the X-Men team. Plus, now you've got a significant number of people who spent a lot of time together. This is a much older team, so they've actually significantly increased their amount of overall capabilities. Strength. Even though now for the X-Men side you've got Juggernaut, who we didn't see do a whole lot except for smash from some walls and slam head first into a wall. And Colossus finally doing more, as well as Beast. We're not quite seeing anything that I would say puts him on the same strength level as what Thanos did to Hulk. Even though now we do have Angel, who has some flying capabilities. Without there being Nightcrawler, now suddenly they've really lost a lot of short-range speed bursts. And I'd probably still say, seeing what we see Thanos do, he's pretty close to keeping up with people who are above normal human. And even though they've got a bunch of mutants, they're still relatively close to regular humans when it comes to their overall speed feats. Invulnerability, kicking that over to Thanos again. Durability. Now, with this one, I'm specifically going, if you remember towards the end of the film, when Jean Grey is going full-on Phoenix. We're watching Wolverine pretty much get torn apart by waves of almost like disintegration level energy coming back from it. We also have the high level of durability that we're now seeing in someone like Juggernaut. When someone gets moving, he's unstoppable. So we have that increased durability from Juggernaut. Not quite an invulnerability that I would say, because we don't see him as much, but we do see him have a significant amount of ability to just absorb damage and keep on moving. EP and versatility stays the same. And now X Factor. Again, this is Jean Grey. With her going full Phoenix, I very much seen a lot of this team hurting Thanos and knocking him off balance. I think it's going to come down to the fact that the Phoenix Jean Grey was significantly powerful. You're going to notice this is kind of a running theme. Professor X is going to be able to do a pretty good number on Thanos' mind. But with evil Jean Grey, she is really close to that Alpha Omega level. That the fact that, the things that we're seeing them do now, whether it's moving full bridges full of people, or Arclight clapping his hands and destroying a full military arsenal of plastic weapons. The skills that we're seeing coming out from Magneto. Just as well as seeing Iceman go full ice. There's just a significant amount of abilities that I think would tip the favor when it comes to the X-Men. Okay, now we're going to First Class. So I'm now halfway through. So we've now completed the first trilogy. We're now on to effectively the second trilogy. So now you have Mystique, played by Jennifer Lawrence. Emma Frost, who has both the telepathic abilities and the diamond abilities. Azazel. So now you have your teleporter again. Havoc, Beast, Riptide, Banshee, Darwin, super cup of coffee, a young Professor X, and the immaculate Kevin Bacon, Sebastian Shaw, as well as Michael Fassbender in a fantastic role as Magneto. Intelligence still goes to Thanos. I will also give fighting ability to Thanos as well, because we've got an incredibly young team. There's really no highly skilled fighters. Even with a different version of Angel, I think she's referred to as Pixie, you've got a team that's just brought together versus a team of villains that doesn't have a tremendous amount of cohesion. Strength, there's no power, guys. Speed. Comes to speed, we see it from Azazel with all of his teleporting. We see it from Banshee with flying, as well as their version of Angel with flying. So we've got people who actually have the ability to maneuver significantly and more effective. This is more basis where we are from a special effects standpoint. Invulnerability, I did kind of go, okay, but you do have the diamond ability of Emma Frost. But as we see in the movie, when Magneto does effectively the wire trick, you actually do see the diamond actually begin to kind of crumble. So even though she has a much more impressive form, it's nowhere near what we see someone like Thanos sustain in durability as well. Now this one, of course, energy projection, versatility, it actually makes sense when it comes to the X-Men team. Now, I give the X factor to them because one big thing, and that's Sebastian Shaw. We see in the film that he's actually absorbing energy from effectively a nuke. So I'm thinking that depending on what his threshold level is, I'm thinking that the majority of the team goes down pretty quickly. Professor X doesn't have anywhere near the mental ability he needs. Same with Magneto. A lot of people they haven't fully got into their overall power sets yet. But Sebastian Shaw's ability to absorb energy makes this very interesting to fight. Because I can picture Thanos leveling almost everybody else. Emma Frost going diamond to try and survive. Azazel teleporting like crazy to try to keep himself away from the fight. And then Sebastian Shaw just taking a massive shot from Thanos, absorbing a lot of that. But I don't know how well Sebastian Shaw will be able to redirect that, and how easily Thanos might just go, you absorb these impacts, yeah. What if I can snap your neck? Wait, what? What if I can snap your neck? Would you absorb that energy, or would your head be facing the other direction? So I think Sebastian Shaw is the one who makes this fight easily the most entertaining, because I think that his powers make him a very unique foil for someone like Thanos. Days of Future Past. Now, so we have all of the previous. This is pretty much every single X-Men character. You've got 2 Professor X's, 2 Magnetos, Mystique, Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, Beast, Blink, Bishop, Colossus, Warpath, Sunspot, Iceman, Toad, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Havoc, Quicksilver. Now for this, I'm actually taking all of them and combining them into one massive team. Keep forgetting about that. Now, I give the intelligence edge to the X-Men now, because you've got younger versions and older versions, and you've got a significant group of people in the future time who have known nothing but combat, who have such a significant amount of experience, not to mention that you now have 2 very powerful telepaths. And you've got teams that just have a significant amount of overall training, experience, and knowledge. I'll also give it to them for the fighting ability. For the team that's in the future, they've known nothing but war for a significant period of time. And they actually do a pretty good job holding their own. Strength still goes, of course, to Thanos, because even though you've got Warpath and Colossus, who technically have strength abilities, we don't see them put anywhere near the level of, facing someone like Hulk. Speed. Blink. Blink's giant teleporter. And I think given her ability to effectively open like a portal matrix, I think she makes a significant impact in this sort of team. Because now all of a sudden, when it's like, okay, you do an ability, I redirect, you throw you, I redirect you. There's so much that this is going to really do a number on someone like Thanos. Because now all of a sudden, Thanos isn't facing just this massive assortment of individuals. He's now facing a massive assortment of individuals with 2 telepaths and a person who's just going to like throw little darts in the air. and have anybody jumping through them and attacking him from almost any direction simultaneously. Invulnerability, durability, still goes to Thanos. I almost thought that maybe I could kind of see some of the invulnerability and durability making its way towards the Xmen, because you do have a much older Wolverine. But the problem is, when he goes back, he's Bone Wolverine, which significantly gives him a higher level of recovery, but it also makes it that if Thanos gets the whole thing, you probably snap him in half. And as always, EP and versatility, I'm also giving to the X Factor as well. The team he's taking on, I mean, it's like a 20-person team of some of the most powerful individuals in their younger forms as well as in their older forms. This is a tall order for almost anybody to try to get through. The amount of abilities he has to deal with almost simultaneously, and the fact that you have two master level telepaths who I think could really do a number on Thanos by themselves. And a team that's just incredibly powerful. As well as having Quicksilver on the team too, who at this time, that sequence is fantastic. So now picture Quicksilver buzzing all around Thanos, Blink throwing her little portal daggers everywhere, enemies coming through from all angles, Storm shooting lightning through one portal, out through another portal, optic eye blast, Bishop redirected energy as well, Wolverine coming in and out. I mean, it'd be a tall order from almost any character. Maybe if Thanos had more stones, he'd be able to handle a team with this many people, and with two Professor X's, you could get an amount of coordination that would be next to impossible for someone to try to stop. And now X-Men Apocalypse. Now intelligence, of course, goes back to Thanos. Because even though we do have significantly more powerful characters, I'm still going to give an edge just when it comes to amount of time spent and amount of intellect to Thanos. Fighting ability. You do have Wolverine, who's in there for a cup of coffee, but you do have a Psylocke too. And now you're starting to see Mystique also come into the world. And you've got, the young Nightcrawler, you've got Angel, who has some fighting abilities. You have slightly more fisticuff style abilities, but definitely a higher degree of abilities when it comes to fighting. Strength stays the same. Speed, again, now you have Quicksilver. So Quicksilver definitely gives him a tremendous speed advantage. Now I'm pretty sure you can kind of figure out how the rest of things line up. Because invulnerability, durability, even if you got Wolverine in there for a little bit, he's not in there for some. He doesn't factor into the ending fight. Same from a durability standpoint. So you've got early Jean Grey starting to hit Phoenix. You have an early Cyclops. You have Angel, who becomes kind of Archangel. You have Mystique, Wolverine, Psylocke, Professor X, Magneto, Storm, Nightcrawler, Beast. Oh, I'd forgotten one or two. So again, high degree of versatility when it comes to abilities. Great overall range, especially when you factor in that 4 of them, of course, become enhanced by Apocalypse. So it comes down to that X Factor. I give the X Factor edge to the X-Men. Here's the main reason why. We do see at the very end of the film, when all of them work in unison, they actually combine their abilities, they pin down, and they stop Apocalypse. Jean Grey goes young, full Phoenix and disintegrates Apocalypse. I think the fact that she can fully disintegrate one of the first mutants, I would definitely have to say that with that level of skill and that level of ability, I think she can do the same thing to Thanos. I think she'll get pushed to the point where she releases that, and if she can disintegrate a character the level of Apocalypse, I don't know how well Thanos will be able to survive an attack like that. Now again, of course, if he's later on with more stones, I think he can probably survive it. But I think with the team he's taking on now, that attack is significant. And that would definitely do a number on Thanos. Of course, we have one more fight left. And of course, what would a battle with the X-Men be not to have... That's right, the Ivan Ooze-looking Apocalypse taking on Thanos. Now, I will give the intelligence edge to Thanos. Initially, I had this written in a different way. I had these two kind of tied with this. Until I started to realize, oh yeah, let's go with the plans that they've got. Apocalypse. Well, let's take over the planet. Okay. Thousands of years. And this plan is to take over the planet. It's Apocalypse. Thanos. Hundreds of years, not thousands of years. They don't really fully come out and say, oh, he's been around for, 17 centuries. Thanos' plan. Gather 6 incredibly powerful items, get them together, destroy half of all life in the universe. One is successful, one is not. You're probably thinking, but then why did they give the intelligence edge to some of the X-Men teams? Well, I only gave it to them very, very rarely, and it was normally because of the amount of just overall skill and teamwork that they've got. As well as the fact that if you've got multiple telepaths on a team that are very powerful, they can probably very easily degrade someone's intelligence on the other side. You have to be able to really think through a really fantastic game plan if you've got 2 very powerful telepaths working your mind over simultaneously. Findability. I had to think back through. I was like, does Apocalypse really hit anybody? Did he try to do anything? I was like, no, he just all powers. He's all powers in a well-intentioned suit. Strength. Now, ironically, they do kind of mention a super strength ability on Apocalypse. I don't recall him using it. Speed. I went back and forth with this one. They can both teleport. Short range. Both teleport long range. However, Apocalypse can also fly. So like teleporting, they're the same, but you also want a character that can fly. Vulnerability. I went with this because as we get towards the end of the film and we see the fact that Magneto can drive metal through Apocalypse. Even though his ability is of course protective shielding, we do see him get run through pretty effectively by Magneto. And then I think back to later on in the film, we see Thanos take an incredible amount of damage. I mean, we see him tank significant blows from Hulk very early on in the film. And I was like, the ability to get punched by Hulk, I would put that at a higher level than say, oh, this person put an I-beam or pinned me with an I-beam and did damage to me with it from Magneto. Durability. Ironically, Apocalypse is at full level cellular regeneration because the last mutant they put him into, because he constantly gains the abilities, ended up being a regenerator. His body, of course, ends up failing because he wants more power. But he actually does have cellular regeneration as one of his abilities, as well as matter-energy rearrangement. So technically when it comes to his ability to adapt and to take abuse, as well as he has adaptive skills too, he ends up having the ability to take a significant amount of abuse but recover from it very, very quickly. EP. One of the first things we see Apocalypse do, beyond the whole, killing people with sand, is he does have the ability, like I say, he has matter and energy rearrangement. That's why he's able to enhance people's mutant abilities. Or turn people to dust. At a whim. Yes, had he used those abilities at the end of the film, would have been vastly different. Because you're being attacked by a large group of people, and you know what? I did a sand thing earlier, where I pulled people in sand, then I killed other people with like a wave of sand. If only I had sand. Oh, I have sand now? Yeah. Cool. I have killed every single person here. Except for my 4. So people at 4? No. Sand. He very easily could just go through that process. Versatility. Again, we're looking at telepathy, telekinesis, technopathy, as well as I already mentioned the matter-energy arrangement, which is significant. X factor. Hear me out. Hear me out. Apocalypse in the movie could disintegrate people. That's why even though Thanos has a much better plan when it comes to the overall movie, fights better, is stronger, can take more abuse, he's taking on an individual with a significant amount of different abilities. And a lot of very good powers. But I think the fact that he was able to disintegrate people and has matter and energy rearrangement abilities, that's significant. That's because what we actually notice here is Thanos is incredibly neutered in the movie. Apocalypse, depending on your thoughts of Apocalypse, he's in a spot that's decent. Apocalypse always should have been significantly stronger. You can't have a character who's like, behold my access to celestial technology. Oh, I'm having a hard time trying to defeat Dracula. Wait, what? Behold my amazing technology. Okay. The Dark Riders beat me down. But that was in between your sleeps, because you're like Odin, you're so powerful you need to take time away to fully regenerate. Yes. Apocalypse, you lose way too often for a character as powerful as you are. Apocalypse should be written as a Thanos-level threat. He shouldn't be he can affect the full timeline of the Earth. Thanos, I've made and destroyed the universe, and I've recreated it several times. Apocalypse, if I could just kill Xavier, I could rule this timeline. Thanos, I've existed beyond the timeline. I have great celestial tech. I found out that Galactus' calculations were done incorrectly. Apocalypse, for as long as he's been around, should be a significantly larger, more devastating individual. They did a pretty good job with him in the movie. He felt like he was pretty good. Thanos, at the start, I think if we have, Power Stone wielding Thanos taking out Apocalypse, I think Apocalypse can defeat him. If we're looking at any other additional stones, well, now all of a sudden, if he has Time Stone or the Reality Stone, you add one additional stone to him, and all these fights change. You give him the Mind Stone, and guess what? Now all of a sudden Xavier, he's a non-factor. You give him the Reality Stone. Oh. What are you? We're mutants. So you're just genetic aberrations? Yeah. What'd you do? I removed all the defective genetic material from you. What? You're now all people. Except for you, Azazel. You're some sort of weird demon thing. And Nightcrawler, I have no idea. You're mutant and something else. Oh, Apocalypse. You look Egyptian. So if I just go back in time, or if I just go to like a week ago when you were still inside your tomb, and just, throw the pyramid out into space. Like that's it. Or it's rare materials. I mean, you give Thanos literally any other series of stones, and he's going to significantly destroy the Xmen, because effectively they would be nothing to him. You give him the Mind Stone, you give him the Time Stone, Reality Stone, you give him the Space Stone. You give him any of those additional stones. Doesn't matter what your powers are. He's significantly stronger and he would easily have the ability to defeat the vast majority of X-Men teams. I could see Days of Future Past team giving him some pause. Unless they had the Reality Stone, they just remove their genetic material. Because there's so many of them and there's such a vast array of abilities. So with that, let me take a break. As always, these are my opinions. I could be wrong. Feel free to throw them in the comment section.